was that?
The ball! Can I come in?
If you're still here, oh my god, how good was the ending, and how sad are you that we won't be getting another game for at least a couple years? Yep, let's cry. Well, to tide myself over until then, I've decided to take my love for the game and combine it with my obsession with Commander, Magic the Gathering format, and make a couple cards based around Kratos and Atreus. And if you'd like to see what those cards are, come on, finish watching this video and let's see what I did, and you tell me whether you liked it or not in the comment section down below. All right, let's get started. So first up, we have Kratos, father of Atreus, for 1 red, white, black. He's a 4/4 legendary creature god with haste. His ability says, when Kratos, father of Atreus, attacks, create a token equipment from among Blades of Chaos, Leviathan Axe, Phase Shield, and Draupnir Spear that you do not control, and equip it to Kratos, father of Atreus. When Kratos, father of Atreus, becomes equipped, draw a card. Partner with Atreus, son of Fae. So, what do we think? Don't be super critical about it. Well, you can if you want. That's your prerogative. Just make sure to do it in the comment section where it'll help out the YouTube algorithm. Please and thank you. For me, I think this is okay. It really encompasses the entire gameplay loop of Kratos as a video game character. We can see that in the card, specifically because in the game you can switch between his 3 different weapons. That's a little bit of a spoiler, where you can use those different weapons to achieve different ends. You know, maybe unlock different parts of a puzzle, or just do battle in a different way, depending on the mini boss or whomever that you're fighting at the time. And so I wanted to have the card really express that. So each of these tokens have their own abilities that are very specific, and I try to gear them towards their in-game mechanics as well, and you'll see that a little bit later. And honestly, the card draw is because we all know, what's a commander that doesn't draw you cards? It's not worth playing, especially when it ends up being a Voltron style commander, right? Come on, we've all been there. We have Wylith, Soul of Steel, and Akiri Fearless Voyager being 2 of our most popular and cheapest commander options for that kind of playstyle. But one thing they both lack that I made sure Kratos didn't was black. Black being in your color palette for a commander changes everything. Okay, from being able to tutor up any of your combo pieces or really important cards from your deck, to just outright destroying problematic cards on the field. 2 things I don't think you'll have too much of a problem with this commander, but the option is great. Black is a phenomenal utility color in the commander format, and it was a little bit too hard for me to not give him black in his color identity. I mean, Queen Marchesa is one of my favorite commanders of all time, and if black is good enough for the Queen, I'd say it's good enough for Kratos. He is a god after all. Now, as I think I stated earlier, each one of those token equipments that Kratos makes, if you don't already know, are weapons that he has to play with in God of War Ragnarok. Each one of those weapons, the Blades of Chaos, the Shield, the Axe, and the Spear, all have their own upgrades that you can get, and 3 of the 4 have their own perk trees where you can upgrade to get and utilize different abilities that help make Kratos be as powerful as he can be in the game. And you're gonna need it, trust me. Those berserkers took me days to get through. I'm still working through getting all the collectibles so I can get my platinum trophy, but those weapons do make it a breeze when they're upgraded. And I wanted to make sure that these token copies embodied as much of how powerful they were in the game, and bring it to the cards where they were representative but not overpowering to play against, but definitely fun to play with. So that being said, we're going to start with his bread and butter weapon, the Leviathan Axe. You've seen it, you love it, let's get into it. Leviathan Axe, token legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has vigilance. The ability is Permafrost. Whenever the equipped creature deals damage to an opponent's creature, you may unequip Leviathan Axe and tap target creature dealt damage by equipped creature this turn. The creature does not untap for as long as Leviathan Axe remains unequipped. You can pay a black and a red, attach Leviathan Axe to target creature you control, or its normal equip cost is 2. Whew, that was a lot to read. Now, what I was going for here is the fun gameplay mechanic that happens when you use Leviathan Axe, where you can throw the axe and it will stick to a creature and freeze it in place, freeing you up to use your fists or other weapons to deal with other enemies that may be surrounding you. More than likely 100%. Nothing is ever one-on-one. Rarely is it one-on-one. See the Berserkers I was talking about earlier. Ability for you to re-equip the Leviathan Axe equipment by paying Rakdos, reminiscent of the game as well, where you can press triangle to immediately summon the axe back to your hand. Afterwards, with a certain perk upgrade, initiating a combo attack that will devastate your enemies, and definitely not lead to you dying trying to do something really cool. +2/+2 with Vigilance, I don't think is too much. The +2/+2 will make Kratos a 6/6 hasty boy, and come on, 6/6 haste, it's not too bad. I mean, it's a Mardu commander, it's Voltron, it's supposed to beat face and take a beating, just like Kratos can. So Vigilance, I think, is definitely warranted here for that. He can swing out for 6 and still be up to block in the next turn on the crackback. Come on, don't tell me I overdid it. You haven't even seen the last 2 equipments. Speaking of which, let's move on to Phase Shield. Phase Shield, it's Kratos's shield that he got from his wife Faye. Super obvious. This is an item that you get at the very beginning of God of War 2018. You have this. It's a shield that you can summon forth. It's attached to your wrist and it will unfold to you, block incoming damage, or if you're a top skilled player such as myself, use as a parry to create openings in the enemy's attacks where you can dish out a shit ton of damage. Okay? A lot of damage. Trust me. I know what I'm doing. It only took me a really long time to beat the game. Anyway, and with this equipment, Phase Shield, token legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +0/+3 and has hexproof. The ability is called Parry. Whenever equipped creature blocks and is dealt damage, reduce the damage by 1. The equip cost is 2. So I know. Hexproof? Really? That means he can't be targeted for equipping other equipments. Yeah, we all run into this problem with our Lightning Greaves. But honestly, I really struggle to build a defensive equipment for Kratos. And honestly, I even thought about taking the shield off as one of the items that he could create. But with it also being a really big part of the combat, it had to stay. In my opinion, we had to do it to honor the true Kratos, as it were. So, if you have any better suggestions for what I could have done with Phase Shield, please let me know, because even now I'm still having a hard time thinking of anything. But on to the next one, the Blades of Chaos, and probably my favorite design weapon in all of fantasy video games. Let's jump over to it. The Blades of Chaos are probably Kratos' most well-known weapons. They're on the box art, I'm pretty sure, of most of his original games, and they were a really big plot point in God of War 2018 when he went back to his home and had to dig them out of the rubble of their old house to utilize them to rescue Atreus. And it was just a really wonderful moment in that game, and I'm super glad that they did it. Honestly, I did not think they'd bring back the Blades of Chaos, but they're awesome. And I tried to do my best to give a little bit of that awesomeness in flavoring and designing this card. Blades of Chaos, token legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, and the ability is Immolation. When the equipped creature deals combat damage to a creature, it deals that much damage to each creature your opponents control. The equip cost is 4. Whew, little Balefire Dragon vibes. Is it too much? Maybe. But do I care? Not really. Again, this is my custom card and I want to do them the way that I saw fit. And in the game, these blades are meant to dish out a lot of damage at a very quick pace and to a lot of creatures at one time. They're your crowd control weapon of choice in combat, and I really wanted to showcase this through utilizing, like I said earlier, Balefire Dragon's ability to deal damage to your opponent's creatures whenever that creature deals damage. And I think that's really cool. It's kind of a pseudo board wipe if your opponent has a lot of small 1/1s, like someone playing Elf Tribal or Pillow Fort style decks. I think it's really good, and I definitely think that the equip cost of 4 is definitely warranted for those times that Kratos may get removed from play. As you may have noticed, the equipments don't go away. So if you have to recast Kratos and put him back on the field, you gotta pay those equip costs, because if they're still on the field, his ability will not trigger on attacks. So I think it's fair. What do you think? And while you're thinking about that, we're gonna move on to the last and final artifact equipment that goes with Kratos before we get to the last card of the day. And it's a bit of a spoiler. If I did not put a spoiler warning in earlier, I'm telling you now, spoilers are ahead for something. If you're still here, let's get into the next weapon, the Dropnir Spear. It was a welcome surprise for Kratos to get a new weapon in this game. How many of us could have expected that? Honestly, if you really think that you saw this coming, tell me. And I'm going to tell you that you're wrong, because I didn't see it coming, and there's no one I trust more than I trust me. As far as the weapon in game, it brings a lot of versatility and a lot of utility. Upon acquiring this item, the Dropnir Spear becomes, and very quickly, Kratos's primary source of long-range damage. This weapon allows you to take down large fire-breathing enemies very, very quickly, especially when they're flying around trying to hit you with those annoying breath attacks. It also has this really cool ability that when you throw it, it will stick to any surface that you aimed at, and another spearhead will appear in your hand. And you can repeat this an infinite number of times before pressing the triangle button and smashing the butt of the spear down into the ground and detonating all of the spearheads that you've placed around the area. This was a tactic that you learned how to use after getting the weapon and fighting Heimdall. It was, for me, a very unnecessarily difficult fight. Honestly, I had no idea what I was doing the first time around, but after a very short YouTube video, I figured it out. Back to the card. The ability for the spear to self-replicate at the beginning of the combat definitely borrowed heavily from Helm of the Host, but I think it really fits the almost unlimited way that the spear plays in game. And with the ability for you to pay one and sacrifice as many spears as you want to destroy a specific annoying artifact or enchantment, aka Smothering Tithe, I think it kind of fits. It definitely leans towards you wanting to collect as many spears as possible. And definitely, there's a risk to that. Dockside is very prevalent in competitive and casual parts of the format. But it also can be very rewarding when you take down, again, that Ristic Study, that Smothering Tithe, or somebody's Great Hinge if you can make it to 7 of these things without somebody 7 a Dockside on board. I think overall, it's a really cool ability. And of course, I'm biased. I made it. But again, like with everything else, let me know what you think about this as we move on to our last card that I made for the God of War franchise, and probably the last one. But if you guys like it, I can continue on with God of War, but I've got so many other ideas, especially when it comes to anime characters. Maybe Chainsaw Man stuff. I've been catching up with that. See how I feel. But yeah, let's move on to the last card, Atreus, Son of Fae. Atreus, Son of Fae. 2 green blue for a 2/4 legendary creature giant god. Spoilers. Tap, add Simic. Spend this mana only to activate an ability or cast an artifact spell. Metalcraft. As long as you control 3 or more artifacts, you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands and cast artifact spells from the top of your library. Okay, I hear it. I hear it already. You guys are saying this card is possibly overpowered. And that's okay. My design philosophy behind this card was for it to add to Kratos' repertoire. It was for Atreus to support Kratos, just like he does in-game. You can see that in the fact that this adds green and blue to the color identity of this commander deck. And while playing this as a Wooburg deck may not be the best way to do it, it does add utility. You can't argue that. And his tapped ability that allows him to add Simic mana to activate the abilities of artifacts or cast other artifact spells, it works. It is free mana for Kratos to equip the other weapons that may have come unequipped. Maybe he was destroyed, or maybe you're playing really cool artifacts that aren't the tokens that he creates. Whatever the case, I think that ability, again, adds to and supports Kratos, Father of Atreus, as a card. And his second ability, okay, that one was me. I love the reality chip. What can I say? And as far as a supporting card goes, I'd say the reality chip does really well in whatever deck that you plug it into. Pun not intended. But this is the end. These are all the Magic the Gathering cards that I created based on God of War Ragnarok. It was one of my favorite games of 2022, and I can't wait to play the next one. So, if you want to see more content like this, please let me know. I like creating stuff like this. I don't know, maybe we could do Supernatural next? Game of Thrones. Oh, I don't know. You guys let me know what we should do another video on. Till then, it's me, Zane Pachi. I'm out.